openness is the path of learning. Doesn't matter who is best and who is not best. That is not the point of learning. Alright. First of all, we are in the middle of farmland. All around us, for miles and miles, we can see what rice fields, then coconut plantations, all those wonderful fields, green all around. So you are not in some concrete jungle where a small blade of grass makes you feel happy. Huh? You are not there. You are growing up in a place there where you can climb a fruit tree and pluck a mango and eat it. Huh? Or you can follow a small snake and see what is happening to it. It's that kind of a place. Huh? So, there will be no decorative gardening. No lawns. You can plant trees. You can plant vegetables. But vegetables don't grow like one plant at a time. Have you seen? Suppose you plant brinjals or you plant lady's fingers or mirchi or and near the house you plant things like bananas. Yeah? So it will be an edible landscape. It will not be a visual landscape. And there will be no landscape area in the house smaller than 1.5 meters in any dimension. There will be no lawns. Lawns require pesticide, they require watering, and they require manicuring. You know what is manicuring? Manicure. And they pay 300 rupees for doing that work. How much does it cost? Something like that. Then you go for pedicure. And your feet are made beautiful. So, none of that. It will be a robust, bold landscape. You will pave all surfaces inside with a plant, but let nothing less than 1.5 meter in any direction. That's why. Please see Louis Barragán's works. Please also see the houses in Mexico, in Spain, what are called the hacienda. Hacienda. But they were all bare landscapes. What's the beauty of a bare landscape? When the sunlight is falling and you have one tree with some particular kind of branching, then the shadows change. Sometimes the flowers fall, and when you wake up in the morning, there is a small carpet of flowers which have a lot of fragrance, or leaves which have fallen, and they make a sound. The landscape is about sound also. It is about smell, it is about sound, it is about taste. I don't know if you have ever seen a lemon tree on which lemons grow, and you can take the leaf and crush it and you get a beautiful smell. And I don't know whether you have eaten any leaves. So it is not just visual. Get out of that. It is about all the senses. So we will cut out the visual. We will keep the visual, but it will be bold, big, like architecture. It's a landscape which is as bold as a wall, or as bold as a floor. Not a sort of small areas. Yeah. You want to plant flowers? Make one bag big, full of flowers. That's it. You can plant lotuses in a pond if you want. Not. Yes, you may have some small things, but you will have to ask permission. I want you to get out of typical habitual ways of decorating a plant and think about the space that you have. None of you are visualizing the space. You have to imagine the space. Okay? So that's first. Second is that the mistake that I made was to tell you that the house has already been built. It was actually a mistake. The house has not been built, but the drawings have been made by another architect. And as a fellow architect, you will not completely disregard the drawings. Even your client will not allow you to. So you have to keep the main character, the main aspects of the plan. When I see the two plans, I should be able to say, yes, it's the same basic plan. But you can change things. Not change the whole plan, not change the basic idea, but you can change a few things. What can we change? What should we change is up to you. But now let's look at what are the things to remember. First of all, what is a street? What is a street? Right? A main axis or access? Access. That's a very, doesn't it have anything on it? How many names of street do we have? We have street, then we have lane, then we have path, then we have road, then we have highway, and you have track. What is the difference between all of this? Let's write them down. I will write like this: track, path, lane, street, road, highway. Any more you can think about? Gully is lane. Gully is the same as lane. Or I'll write here gully or gully. In ghazals, which street comes? In ghazals. Anybody is interested in poetry or ghazals? Gully comes in ghazals. Teri gali. Why do they say gully? तेरे धोरी मार्ग पे ऐसा कोई नहीं कहते because she is too far there. In a gully, the moment I am in the gully, there is an intimacy. Anybody on the gully and anybody to the side of the gully or the lane comes in contact. What is a track? I walked on the forest track.
It's not necessary.
So there is a path which is going according to the topography, and it is going from one tree to the next and finally in between, and it goes up and it goes down. And it's just one person ride. It may not even be fully formed, but because many people have walked on it, it has become recognizable as a track. Yeah, where the grass is not growing as well as on the other side. Yeah? So you can make out that it's a track. What is a path? Yes. It is going somewhere. Definitely. It may be paved. It may be used by many people. Not a huge crowd, but 2, 3 people, 4 people at a time. Yeah. Then it is. But it's not a street. No, it's not yet a lane. What is the difference between lane and path? Yeah, lane and path. So there are buildings there. But path doesn't necessarily have buildings. It could also be in the open. Like the forest paths, you can say. Or the path along the playground. The path crossing the playground. You know, all that kind of thing you can say. But lane means already there are buildings on two sides. Yeah? It has to be narrow. How wide is a lane? In your imagination, how wide is a lane? Gully. Gully kyun ho? No, show with your hands. That much? Okay, suppose I find a gap, like about that much. Then I will call it what?
Depends on what is on the sides.
Yeah. No, there are what? Patli gully. Gully is about that much. Maybe a little more can be. Suppose I found about this much, like in a port. This, in a particular context, this would be a street. In another context, it would be a gully. If I was walking in Bombay, in the fort area, buildings are far apart, and then in between two buildings there is a cross street, and that is a gully, like that big. From there to this building are 4 stories. So that's a lane or a gully. Generally speaking, not too much will open into a gully. It will not be a social space. It will be a space that you pass through in order to go from one space to another. The windows on it will be where somebody is sitting there and watching who went through. Yeah? It will be a different kind. It's not, Garnu entrance to Gali Mati. Then that house will not be, if it is entered from a lane, from a side lane, then that house will not be a very prestigious house. Maybe somebody can't really afford a house. Somehow or another he has managed some space. So it will be a gully. What is a street? Now we have come to street. Okay, let's start from the other side. What is a highway? Big, broad, traffic. Pedestrians have to take care. Speed. Between cities. But even within cities, sometimes you have highways. Like you have got SG highway. Yeah? So there is a highway. What is a road? Road is where there are both vehicles as well as pedestrians. And it is slightly slower than highway, and there may be entrances from that. But the entrances generally, then those houses will have to protect themselves. Because there is so much traffic and so many strangers. Now what is a street? So it is more or less completely unknown. Outsiders will not be seen often there. It will be small enough that I can talk to my neighbor. It will be a place where if I stand in the door like this, anybody who is passing on the street will sort of do that. I don't know if you have ever felt that. Some streets you go and there is some old fellow or young fellow standing like that. And you will not look at him or you will avoid the gaze if you are a stranger. But if you are the neighbor or in the opposite house, then either you will feel today he is in an aggressive mood, let's leave him alone, or you might say, hey, kya kar raha hai? Kind of thing. So a street is a place where you are not inside your house, you are not outside in the city, you are somewhere in between. And that somewhere in between, in some cultures it will be very, very elaborate. There will be a place, there will be a private place, anybody can sit there, vegetable seller will come and talk to him. Everything will be, most of the time you will be spending there in some places. In other places, it may not be like that. But it will have a door. On the door there will be a shelter so that anybody who comes will feel, oh yes, this is the place where this house is starting and I have to ring the bell. And it will have, every house will be sort of behaving inside. Because on the street you don't want to look like, just any mischievous person. You want to be a well-respected person. So the way the front of the house is made is really very, very important. Now we have a street here, and at present they build houses like this. Roughly that is the scale. Somebody is walking here. Somebody is sitting here. This distance is about that distance. So already if I come into a space where he is sitting, then I cannot make myself invisible. I will have to acknowledge either by saying good morning, hi, or I will have to look down or use my mobile to do that. Avoid eye contact. Now, if you take the houses back, let's draw another drawing here. I will keep this street space the same. I take this house and make it tall. And this man is here. And somebody is standing here. See the change in the street? The whole life of the village. So you first of all must see what is the relationship that it is making to the street. What kind of a street will this kind of a house bring about? This is one very important question you must ask. Yesterday also we said. Yeah? So now maybe your architect friend will not mind if you move the same plans little bit this way. That's one. Now let's look at a house and present if I am coming on the street, you will see this, my child looks like that, there is the garden. And this one, you can see the door, and this side, that, like that. You can recognize it. Here I will see something black. Maybe I'll have some papers. Now let me change that and it has become. See the change? So how will you make it friendly? If your entrance is in the center, one kind of thing. Your entrance is in the side, it's another kind of thing. If I am walking straight to the entrance is one kind of thing. If I am walking and I am walking along the street here, and then I walk like that, and then I go to the entrance. It's a different kind of house. How is the house presenting itself to the street? Again, you have a plan already, and you cannot completely change the plan. But can you make the plan start doing something slightly more friendly? Next. Third thing, I enter. First of all, am I entered? What will I be entering? What am I entering? See, I can enter an office building. I can enter a hospital. I can enter. So what am I entering here? Huh? Somebody said a house. So what should I feel when I enter a house? Is it a normal house or it's a slightly different kind of house?
It has a commercial block.
Huh?
It has a commercial block also.
It has something which it conducts some business. Let's not call it commercial. Right? It has some way of making a living. So it is house come work. Okay, that's fine. But it is also a house which is not just one house where you lock one door and everything is locked. But it is 3 families, 2 families, and it has workers. Yeah? So when you enter this house, what should you feel? But if you go to a hostel or a hotel, in a hotel there will be a lobby and then there will be a staircase. Every guest will go, they will walk down the corridor, they will enter their room, they will close their room. You don't know your neighbor guest. You don't know who is staying on this floor. Hotel can be terrible if people are forced to sort of socialize with everybody who is there. You might find some very nasty characters who you don't ever want to see. So hotel is like that. Hospital is also like that. To some extent in India, hospitals are different. All the patients' relatives are there and they make a kind of house out of each room. Some fruits are brought, some food is brought. More and more people come and start sleeping there. Then they spill out into the corridor. Then they are meeting the other patients' relatives. They are discussing their troubles and then they start exchanging things and then so many things happen. It's like a street. Hospital is like a street in India. A very wonderful place. It's different. You feel very much supported. Because if somebody else is serious, they are having there will be that sense of human support which is different. That's why I'm saying Indian hospitals, they are not otherwise very good, but in this sense they are very good. Okay, but so it's not a hospital, it's not a hotel. Have you seen houses where people, 3, 4 related people are staying and each have their own? What kind of place is that?
Sometimes they fight and they won't talk for days, and then sometimes when they will just
But the social spaces are there.
it's generally a garden or it's generally a garden or they have a small shed in the garden that you can shower.
So what if you say that it's a space which everyone passes through? Sometimes some of the people are allowed not to pass through. Suppose there is a family, older people, this, that, then there is a young fellow who is growing up and he might have some habits and needs which are, parents are shutting their eyes that they allow him a certain degree of freedom. So they allow him to go from one outside staircase, go up. Hey, enough friends are So it's a very nice way in which we accommodate different things. The movement spaces are the most important spaces. How you move, who can see you, how many can see you. Is it a public movement, like if there is a very dominating grandmother, whenever she comes down, everybody is there. But if there is a young fellow and he wants to say he wants to have a smoke. He doesn't want everybody to stand and say, hey, so he will sort of pretend to go for something. And people will partly notice, partly not notice. Their house will have certain provisions, and sometimes it will have pathways which are totally independent. What kind of house is this? What about the people who are the staff? Staff, when they come, will they pass through the main social space? So staff have children also. So they will be cooking also. When you cook, you need to wash vessels. They will wash clothes and hang the clothes. Those children will play with these children. And there's a lot of things will start happening between these two houses. So what kind of the space? So again, movement, distance. Distance is the next thing. Orientation is the third thing. So suppose I have a house here, which is our family, and here there is a house which is of the staff family. And when I open my window, and that person is also opening his window in the morning. Isn't it? So, but if my window is slightly like this, and their window is slightly like that, then it's different. If I am facing this way, it's different, etc. So you really have to see the plans as a kind of a sense of living. Because imagine how people will go from here to there and so on. It's very important. Everything about making a house is about making human place. It doesn't matter if the architecture doesn't look like this. It is least important. Least. Jeans wear it. So in a jeans, you can say, it has to be comfortable, easy to wash. If I wear it for 3 or 4 days, it doesn't make any difference. It has to be that kind of. But if I am going to a wedding and I will not wear that, suppose I am getting married, you are, then you will not go with the jeans. Yeah, you will get a sherwani and then when you sit down, take care. It's kind of. But a house is not like that. House is like a pair of jeans. It has to be. It's like chapatis and not puran polis. It has to be something which is everyday, regular and comfortable, and which recognizes the distinctive needs of different kinds of people who live together in a house. That is a good house. Then, if we can make it architecturally proportioned well, if we bring the light nicely, if we let the breeze flow, then it is even better. But if it just decorates itself, puts on makeup and smiles like that, then it's not good. It's good for taking photographs, but not for doing. You know, yesterday in that Bangladesh man's slides, in not one slide was there anybody using those things. It's just imagining how it will be. The small houses were much better than the big ones. Small houses were very nice. But the big one was. So the house has to have something of a living quality. So we talked about that. Now let's talk about windows. What is a window? do there? Let's draw 2-3 types of windows. That's one type of window. Where do we find such windows? You can open upper part, you can open the topmost part, or you can open the lower part. Each one will be different. Now, if I am sitting on the floor and it's a hot summer's day, I just open this one and I can see everything that is happening in the job. Or if it's on the street, I get little breeze also at body level. And there's enough shading that it will not be a hot place. It's a window where I can have that. I can also do that. Yeah. The window is very important in the room. Where is it and how is it? It makes a window. Let me draw the other kind of window. I'm drawing the window in Villa Savoy. Not actually like that, you can't see that kind of window. But it's a room. In this window, when I'm standing, there's a whole landscape. It's a different kind of window. Two other kinds of windows. So the window does a lot of things to a room. It makes, see this room becomes centered. Window makes the room so that the center of the room becomes important. You don't put anything here except if you want to put a dining table or something which you can put here. But you don't put, say, a cupboard here. Or a sculpture or something. You will put along the walls. You think about rooms like this, you must think like how it is used. See, you can draw. You can draw an entire life like now. Right? Taking only the walls of the room and the ceiling and floor. Little sketchbook in which you have got these secret drawings of these things. Then you will get a lot more from this. So you can have this. Here it is keeping. I can have a window. Like a little house. Yeah? So there are so many ways in which a window is. Now you don't make all kinds of windows all over the building. Yeah, here one here window. Here. There is a sort of quality of how you are thinking which comes through, and maybe you have 2 or 3 types. Yeah? And their size varies little bit. But you will have something which says, no, I would like to have a main room, but I would like to have a little scale of my own. Or I would like the room to completely open out. Then I make something sense. Yeah. The flooring goes all the way there. I see the wall. Actually make a window in a wall where there is no view, and so some plant is growing. I will start doing that. So this is not a window, it is the room which became all that. It's open to sky there. There it's open to sky. And then I might have think about the room as a space. Do I need furniture? Yes, yes. Of course, climatically, your choice will change. You won't put full glass where it's very hot. Now, how much furniture do you need? Acha, what are the standard furnitures which we always draw in drawings? Beds. Everybody knows how to draw a bed. Then chair, dining table and chair. Then WC wash basin. Yes. Huh? Kitchen platform. Sofas. Yeah. Okay. Now, try to do an exercise where you don't draw the standard furniture. You don't draw the bed. You don't draw dining table and dining chairs. You don't draw sofas. Yet, I must be able to make out this is living room, this is dining space, this is sleeping space, or this will mostly be used for sleeping, this will mostly be used for socializing. Later, you will be allowed to put furniture. You can buy furniture after 2 days after the house money has been fully paid. Right now, you are not allowed to buy sofas, no dining table, no dining chairs, and no beds. Other things you can buy. You can have cupboards, you can have kitchen platforms, toilet, the WC and wash basin, all that you can buy. That we don't have. That minimum hard furniture, what they call it.
built in.
And we must be able to make out that this room might be used for a social gathering. This room is where you want to get away and you are on your own. This room is where you can sit together for having a meal. That we must be able to make out from the size and shape of the room. Yeah? It's a very good exercise.
I observed that the care students, they did not use furniture.
Yeah, but they wrote dimensions, which was a big problem.
No, but I saw other drawings in which they had these activities shown with other kind of objects rather than
But our students are little more sophisticated. They will not, without dining table, they cannot eat. No, you come to my house someday, whenever you feel like, you just come, ring the bell, come inside, walk all around the house and see how we use them. Then you go back to your own house. On the bed, what all you do? You have done your homework on bed. You have played cards on the bed. You have had pillow fight on the bed. Yeah? You have had party on the bed. Yeah? You have done model on the bed. Crafting on the bed. Yeah? Okay, let us take the living room. Where sofas and all sleep. The moment there is a katha, Satyanarayan Katha, what happens to that room? With all these stupid heavy things. I hate these heavy sofas. They make a room so, and you have to be fat to occupy it. But no, not that. You have to be immobile. You have to be like a slob. That kind of feeling I get from a sofa. Even people who have more weight, some of them are very active, they are, so they won't use sofa. I have seen sofa, there are these fellows who have given up. That kind of. But anyway, some people like sofas, so that's alright. But then the room changes. The moment you have that kind of thing, room changes. Or you have, let's say, so many friends of yours are going to stay overnight. What happens in that room? Everything gets moved to one side, all the mattresses are laid, and everybody sleeps there and they have a great time. Yeah? And you wait for such occasions. You don't wait for who reach the day, you will sit in the sofa. You hardly ever sit there. That room is the worst room of Indian architecture. Nobody sits there. Some have two even. One which is called what? Drawing room and living room. Formal. So there, everything is locked up. And when a guest is to come, they open it, they dust everything, and then everybody sits with great discomfort. And everybody pretends they are somebody else. They can't be themselves at all in that room. I suppose in a way it's a good room for making you feel bad. Yeah. So I think one, you should have in every house one such living room. So the rooms, now when there are these 3-4 people, different families, should their places look like houses? Should their places look like suites in a hotel? Should their places look like... You should see Aldo van Eyck's women's home in Amsterdam. Erotic book of like no, where there are all these women who have had a bad experience, family. So they are given space where they can stay there with their children. And each one is a kind of a house. And it's wonderful. It is like a suite also, it's like a house also. It's economical enough, but it's still a house. When you were small, what kind of house did you make? Did you make a house? When you were playing? So what was there in each house? Kitchen was always there. So now in each house you might say, well no, let's have one kitchen. But every such couple who has their own sort of, they will keep a dabba of biscuits or some nasta in their cupboard. And they will eat, they will have maybe an electric kettle to make some tea. They will have some ways in which, without coming out, they can be self-sufficient to some extent. Then only for meals they come out. This is part of Indian families. All of us have it. Haven't you? At your own house, you must have seen this. You also must have kept some little nasta of your own in your secret place. No? Admit it. Yeah? So each one must have food. Each one must have rest. Each one must have social life. Each one must have some kind of individuality. Each one must have control over his or her territory. That is a house. That is also part of a house. So we have this very ambiguous definition here. That although I don't have my own house living separate from my parents, still I have my own house. So when my friends come, they will always, as they pass, they will tell my caption. Yeah? Once you are in the room, then you can. Yeah, so it's that kind of a house. It's not a hotel. It's not a hostel. It's not a hospital. It's not a prison. It is a house of many people having their own distinct lives. It is 3 houses, 4 houses out there. But one house also. Yeah. Similarly, those people who are working for the staff, they also have families. And they must have a sense of connection to the ground, some space where they can do things without spoiling the whole room. So there must be a sense of house even there. It is not a hostel or a room which in some construction sites they give the workers these little colis, 2.5 meters by 2.5 meters made of corrugated iron sheet. Poor things, they have to make their house. But even there, I don't know, have you been to Surat? If you come out of the station, you go, there are these houses which are just about that much high. Of the poor people. And with a roof like that. Inside you should see the way the vessels are polished and kept. That much even is looked upon as something which is wonderfully mindful. And every owner is proud of how they took care of the building house. Tell your house what you are making. I have that sense that they say, oh yes, itna mila hai, now I will hang my grandfather's photo here, here I will do puja, here I will do something else. I will come out, I will plant one tulsi here, or maybe if I have a cat, I will do meat for the cat here. Even servants have cats, huh? They are human beings, they are not automatons. Yeah? So think about even that space with a degree of human sympathy. Alright, now many things have been talked about. Basic plan will remain the same. Won't change, but lots of jugaad will be done. Yeah? One thing I forgot to tell you. If a staircase moves in the same place, it's one kind of a staircase. If I go from here to there, then I cross a chalk, then I take another staircase. I don't know if you've been to Udaipur or Jodhpur or Rajasthan, any of these places. No staircase goes fully like that. It will change. From here I'll go, then another staircase will be there. Some will be small. Why should staircases, according to bylaws, we now are required to have 90 centimeters minimum. For 500 years, people were even fat, they must have been fat people. Still their staircase was 45 centimeters. All it means is you have to take a little. So we are not going to apply bylaws on your drawings and say tread and riser this much, width of stair minimum so much. But if you have that kind of a stair, then bringing a dead body down needs a certain age. But if it is a Sida stair, then it's comparatively easier. And it is not between two walls. Staircase between walls is something which came with public buildings. So, now many things have been said. Go back to your plans, and by Thursday, what are they supposed to have?
SketchUp
You
model.
work on SketchUp model, but you can take SketchUp model up to Monday, but keep working also on the quality of house. I think first you need to work on that. Quality of space, quality of house, quality of all the relationships. And on Thursday, we will break. Today we will break. Okay, we'll see what all you have done further. It doesn't have to be completed. But we'd like to see some explorations of how to make it more friendly, better, etc. Okay, all the other questions still remain about sun, rain, wind, all those things remain. Yeah? So now simultaneously all these things have to happen.